One of the burning issues in the country's transport sector is the government's move to modernize public utility vehicles. A significant part of this move is to ban PUVs that are 15 years or older. Parallel to this are incentives to those who would use electric vehicles. Drivers and operators of public vehicles have reacted almost violently to this modernization plan, claiming the projected high cost of converting to e-vehicles. This week, we have invited no less than the chairman of the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, Attorney Martin Delgra III, to get more insights into the matter. Hello, Chairman Delgra, and welcome to Motoring Today.
Hello, Butch, and to all the viewers of Motoring Today.
To begin with, the government's PUV modernization program, or PUVMP, has been a big topic in the country's transportation scene. Would you kindly explain to our viewers, most especially to those who are still clueless at this time, what this is all about, its objectives? Is it a total ban?
It is not a total ban. In fact, we're going to improve, upgrade, and overhaul the entire public transportation system all across the country, all across denominations, from buses, SUV, taxi, PUJ, as well as the other modes of public transports, including TNVS, tourist transport, school bus service, trucks for hire. So all of these are covered by the PUVMP, or what we call Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program. It is not just an upgrading of the unit, but it is actually to look at how we're going to respond more adequately and sufficiently demand. Pag masagot na natin yan, it is also looking at the units by which the units that we are going to deploy and are actually being deployed now in some parts of the country is safe, convenient, and comfortable to the riding public.
Now, one of the problems that the jeepney operators are facing is how to acquire these new modern jeepneys. And to that, response was to form cooperatives and consortiums. Can you tell us how this will go, and is it already going as of the moment?
Yes, even at the moment, there has been a number of cooperatives, associations, and corporations who have expressed interest to participate in the PUVMP. No? In fact, we already have launched the PUVMP in Tacloban. There is a component in the program which we call the initial implementation component, and all of the components of the program itself are already there. No? What we did in Tacloban last Tuesday was actually we have issued franchises covering 3 routes with 15 units each, meaning these franchises are consolidated, they're fleet managed, and the drivers are salary based, meaning they're not going after passengers anymore, as well as the unit, which is an electric jeep with a solar panel, is actually compliant with the technical standards of what a public utility vehicle is under the modernization program is all about. And it is equipped with the other accessories which we have required as well, including dashcam, including CCTV, the entry-exit is already on the side, the height as you go in is already enough for you to stand. So all of these are already in place, and we already have launched it, as I've said, in Tacloban.
Now, aside from this mentioned suggestion from your agency, are there any other help that the operators can ask for from the government?
Under the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program, there is actually a financial assistance components extended to PUJ operators who wants to avail of new units. It has never happened before insofar as the PUJ sector is concerned. In fact, we have an ongoing program for upgrading of units. Buses bus operators have to replace their old units when it reaches 15 years, as 13 years for taxi and UV. But they don't get any assistance from government. Given the unique situation insofar as the PUJ is concerned, and given the numbers all across the country, almost 200,000, there is need, and the government has recognized that need to help them financially acquire new units. And the way to move forward is actually for them to consolidate into co-ops, so that this co-op would be able to secure loans from government. And under this, the loan component of the government, there is what we call 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a 5% equity compared to the usual bank loans for motor vehicles, which could go as high as 15 to 20%. But for this particular program, the interest rate is just 5%. We are in fact still negotiating that this rate can even be lowered. And you also have a 6% interest rate, and with a 7 years repayment scheme. Now, the 8 represents the amount of as much as 80,000 pesos that government will give by way of paying off the equity. So that results to no actual cash out on the part of the cooperative or on the part of the driver operator who would like to borrow money from the bank. Initially, we have already inked agreements with government financial institutions such as Land Bank and DBP.
If there are groups who support the PUVMP, there are also those who are against it. In fact, some have staged illegal nationwide transport strikes. How are you dealing with them, and how do you think will this be resolved?
Now, insofar as the illegal transport strikes is concerned, we have been dealing with them on the enforcement side. In fact, we already have filed cases against PUJ operators who have participated in this illegal strike. They have to understand that their main obligation is the public responsibility to provide public transport. And if they cannot do that, they're actually penalized for doing that. And that's the reason why we have filed cases against them. Also, for those who have been very supportive, we have been engaging them in a very constructive and positive manner. What has been happening now, among other components that we are already working on, is what we call the initial implementation component, which happened in Tacloban, and which will actually happen all across the country as to what happened in Tacloban. That said, for those transport operators and transport groups or transport organizations who are very much willing to support the program, are very much welcome to come and join us, as well as so that we'll be able to determine franchises that would be ideal and conducive to the co-ops and transport groups who are very much willing to support.
Thank you very much for your time, Chairman Delgra. Before we end, do you have any message to our viewers, most especially to the jeepney operators, drivers, and to our commuters as well, regarding the PUVMP?
This modernization program has been long in coming. It's been several decades that the Filipino commuters have been waiting for this. And no less than the President Duterte, has expressed the urgency to overhaul the entire public transportation system. And that's the reason why we have put this in place. And we have put this in place in earnest, not only working internally among the OTR, but also all across the government infrastructure and other government agencies. To name some, DTI, the ENR, the Department of Labor and Employment, the TESDA, for example, as well as our local international partners, including the top academic institutions in the country. we have LaSalle Ateneo UP, as well as other funding and development partners like GIZ, ADB, World Bank. They have been very enthusiastic to push this forward. I think now is the time to address this issue, to address this problem. Now is the time that we have a political will to move this forward and to make it happen within this administration.
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Butch, and happy motoring.
LTFRB Chairman Martin Delgra III, our guest this week on Motoring Today's Motoring Forum, courtesy of Suzuki Philippines.